Yo, what's good, everybody? It's your boy 005 Dynasty back with another quick video for you too. So, I was just watching a video by Maximus. Man, I love it when he drops videos, man, because he always drops some gems, some knowledge. So, he's talking about scared to use the MPC FX, like plugins, right? Don't be afraid to use it. Actually, that's what you bought the machine for. Primarily since the machines nowadays, they're mainly digital, like little computers. And the effects is like, it basically enhances what you're doing, right? And the other thing that enhances what you're doing is using the ins and the outs, which gives you like a little bit of analog saturation, right? So you use your ins and outs. Now, ins and outs is you going in and out the back of your MPC. So you come out the MPC and then you go back into the MPC, right? So that's when you bring in the outboard gear. So but I like this video because he was basically saying like don't rush to export your songs out or export your files out, your sounds out to go into outboard gear. And then also don't rush to export your stuff out to go into your DAW, go into your computer and start using like FL Studio or Logic, anything like that. First, worry about the MPC, especially if you're using a newer model MPC and you don't think that your stuff hits hard enough or sounds that great. It might sound a little flat. Well, a lot of people have been telling you on the internet within the last at least 2-3 years, I know for a fact, that this is a digital box and everybody's stuff is going to sound the same. So you got to get inside the box and you got to start learning how to mix and understanding sound and how sound flows, and using the different effects to manipulate the sound that to the way that you want it to sound. And then you go out the back into external gear, or you go out the back to your DAW, and then from there you're ready to rock and roll with your song, because it should be minimum mixing at that point in time. So I'm on the MPC right now, and I have an older file here that I'm working on a song. It's supposed to be the intro to my album, right? And a lot of stuff that was done in this track, man, I did a lot of it in the keyboard. You know what I'm saying? Then I exported that stuff from the keyboard into the MPC. So I have a lot of audio files in here, right? But this one track right here basically is like using the effects. But I use the effects to scope the sound, to get the sound the way that I want it to sound like, which I use the EQ first, then I use the filter, then I use a compressor, then I use another EQ, right? But that was using the effects to scope the sound, to get it to where I wanted to sound. And then from there, I could export out of the MPC and go into my effects units, my analog gear, or I could go into the DAW. And then what I liked what Maximus was saying also was that you could take it a step further, is you don't even have, technically, if you know music, if you understand and you learn music, like the core foundation of music, you probably don't even have to do all this EQing, and you definitely don't even have to do compression. You know what I'm saying? If you learn how to control the sound. So, first off, you need to get a good sound source. If you just use only the MPC, well, then that's your sound source, right? Then you have to learn how to use the sound source when you're playing your music so that you don't have to use a compressor. If you use an external gear, which would be that the audio is going to be coming in on MIDI, and once the MIDI gets in, well, if you know how to mix or you know how to control the sound, you might not even have to use a compressor because you know sound. That's why I love watching his videos, because he makes perfect sense. When you look at a lot of the other content creators on the internet, right? What they're trying to do is they're trying to make themselves seem better than you, and they're promoting product all the time. They're pushing product in the companies and the new updates and all that stuff. That stuff is the glitz and the glamour, the glory. You got to start listening to people like Maximus and Mood Swing. You know what I'm saying? People like that they are into the fundamental like sound. You know what I'm saying? Mixing, or just understanding mixing, so you don't have to mix as much. If you start listening to these people, you start gathering information that will have you basically get your sound into your device or coming from your device, minimum mixing just understanding and then getting it out into hardware gear and then into your DAW and ready for a song quicker, faster, like that. So for example, let's say you got a keyboard, a Yamaha, a Casio, a Roland, something cool, right? And you want to get your sound in. So you learn how to set up the MIDI. So you record the MIDI, and now you got the MIDI playing. You know what I'm saying? You press your keys like, you know what I'm saying, C, D, E, you know what I'm saying, F, G, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Whatever chord progression you played, and when you get it in, now, once you get it in, you're going to have, the MIDI is going to be here, right? The velocity. Well, the velocity is basically compression. So if you understand, like, how hard you hit a key will bring up the levels, the velocity levels, and that will change the timbre, the characteristic of the sound. If you start to understand that, well, you don't need compression, because all you get after you play the keys on your keyboard, you come to the velocity, and everything's gonna be in here, and now you just turn things up and down, and you're controlling the compression yourself. You don't need a compressor to put the work in for you. You just do it naturally. And that's how you can control the transient peaks also. Because one key you might have hit harder than the other one, and that's why you get those transients that jump, like they spike up. So some sounds might ring in your ear, in your headphones, because it's hitting too hard. But if you understand that, then you don't need a compressor. You just come in here and you change the velocity. You gotta turn stuff down. You gotta bring stuff up and down. And now your sound is gonna sound smooth without the added compression effects. So if you learn music, like the core foundation of music, like how hard I strum or hit or something, how hard I do something, or how soft I do something, will change the timbre of the sound. So now when I go in, I mess with the MIDI file, all I gotta do is mess with my levels and velocity and stuff like that. That takes care of the compression. So now you don't even have to go and add, a compressor, because you took care of it at the beginning stages. So your core foundation of music, your core understanding for the foundation of music and how music is captured, and how you can manipulate the sound before you even add effects, is key too. So, and then if you want to add effects after that point, it's because you're going for a certain tonality, a certain color, a certain timbre, a certain sound, your sound. Then you're going for your sound. That's what these effects should be for. You know what I'm saying? Unless you really have to fix audio. Maybe you sample something off the internet or a record. Then you got to use these effects to fix something, because you're sampling from another source and you don't have all the files or the MIDI data with sound separated. That's why it's so key to produce your records original, because you could really get in there, really mess with the sounds. So that's why when it comes to a person like Maximus, he creates from scratch and he mixes from scratch, and the repetition, mixing it, keep mixing. You get to the point where he understands sound fully, because he doesn't even need to compress or EQ really. Maybe a little tweak here and there, because he understands the fundamental of sound. Now he goes his outs, he goes into the outboard gear. Once he gets the core sounding good inside the MPC, now he makes it sound very, very fat, juicy, big, it hits hard, and all that. Then he can bring it back into the MPC if he wants to as audio, just bounce it back in. Or he could just go straight to his DAW if he wants to. It doesn't matter. But basically, you just got to you basically have to understand the fundamentals for music production. And when you follow the content creators who always pushing a product on you, say, oh, let's do a beat cook up, or let me listen to your beats, they're not talking like him or other people like that. Other people who are talking like him, or even myself. That's why a lot of people are lost when it comes to mixing or just understanding music, because they're not helping you guys. I'm telling you guys, man, they're not helping you guys when it comes to music. I'm telling you. Man, I can literally sit here and listen to somebody like Maximus talk and understand every last word that he's saying, and actually go in there and do it. You know what I'm saying? And I've done this stuff. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying like, listen. Let me get up out of here. This is your boy 005 Dynasty, man. Come and check out Maximus, man. Dope individual.